Do do do. Is that what you're talking about?
Dee. Is that what you're talking about?
That's what I was talking about.
All right.
All right.
Let's talk about a whole lot of talking about.
Well, let's talk about more stuff. Welcome to another episode of the Heart and Hustle podcast with your hosts. I'm Tati.
I was told to say I'm Travis.
You just say it. Jeez Louise. And today I am very excited about this conversation as always. I really mean this. Read your shirt real quick.
It says, "Did you try icing it?"
And it's a gingerbread man on a hospital bed with a broken leg that we need to ice. We're in the spirit. We're feeling jolly. Behind the scenes, we're not going to post this on the day we're recording it, but it is our anniversary. So happy anniversary to us.
And the crowd goes wild.
But honestly, there's nothing I'd rather do than have a good convo and record it for everybody. So
That's what you said. Now I have to take you out to breakfast after this.
I know. I'm really excited for that. What are we talking about today?
Today we are going to be talking about flaws that are also our superpowers.
Yeah.
And these stem from either childhood or adulthood or a random point in our life where that light bulb went off.
Yeah. And quote unquote flaws, because
Correct.
as we got older and learned about ourselves and XYZ, and you learn that these are actually superpowers and then you can use them as such.
Flaws can be treated like beauty marks.
Why?
Because they're not a bad thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They stand out. Everybody's like...
I have one on my face.
And it's beautiful.
Thank you.
What my point was, people don't like beauty marks per se because a lot of people consider them moles, but...
Because they're like imperfections.
Correct.
And
but
like in the
flaw
way.
isn't it doesn't have to be an imperfection.
And actually... It's not an imperfection is the whole point of this. And I think we grow up with like these societal standards, or like your mom told you to shut up and be quiet, or the teacher moved you from all of your friends in class because you talk too much. So like we're deemed that these are like bad things because we're not falling strictly in line with the way that, you know, society wants us to operate. But at the end of the day, God created you to be this way on purpose. And when you really realize that and realize that you don't have to water these parts of you down because they're actually what's going to create your way in the world, I feel like the whole world opened up for me. So I'm really excited for this conversation because I swear to you, this concept, I've changed my life many times, but like this specifically during COVID completely like cracked open, I feel like, me and my life and how I looked at myself and then how I looked at what I could do in the world. And it just made me stop watering myself down and stop like being apologetic for all the things that I thought were like in the way.
Okay.
So I'm really excited to help you guys get past that as well, because you don't have a flaw.
What's your air quote flaw and air quote number one?
Okay, mine comes with a little bit of a story. I'm sorry.
Here goes all our time, folks.
No. I'm not a good storyteller, so it's okay. But okay, during COVID, I really was lost. I was in postpartum depression. Then we had like the COVID depression, and like there was a lot of stuff. I was stuck in the house, all this stuff. And during the Clubhouse days, it was like audio only. Anyway, I fell into rooms. Clubhouse changed my life. Like I am going to write books about Club. And it was just such a short stint. But what I was able to tap into during that time of feeling so lost and depressed, and you were gone all the time. And it was just me during like nap time trying to figure out what I was going to do to not lose my mind. And I came into these Clubhouse thingies that were all about like personality types and learning about yourself and just like all the deep stuff I've never even like known about before. And anyway, through that, I came across, somebody told me I need to watch this TED Talk, and it was by Emily Wapnick, and it was called Why Some of Us Don't Have One True Calling or something like that. I'm about to cry right now. Thinking of like that TED Talk broke everything open for me because she spoke to all of my flaws and taught me why they were all superpowers and why I was created this way on purpose. And anyway, that one TED Talk is basically everything I want to talk about today. And it was about being a multipotentialite. And well, that's what she labeled it at least. And multipotentialites are people who can't stick to one thing. We like to do everything. We go deep with learning everything. And like, honestly, life would be very, very boring and unfulfilling for us if we were a doctor and we just stuck with one thing. And like, we weren't born to do that. And when you're trapped into feeling like you have to stick to one thing, but nothing inside of you was created to like just stick to one thing, it's very trapping. So her explanation of a multipotentialite really taught me that I'm supposed to be this way, and it's because I'm supposed to bridge the gaps between other people. And there's just such a superpower in the way that I'm obsessed with learning new things, and I have to constantly like kind of switch the things I'm learning, and I go really deep, and I can learn things at a more rapid pace than other people because that's just how my brain works. It wants to learn something and go super, super deep. And you know me, I love to go down a rabbit hole. Even on TikTok, when you're scrolling and you just scroll past something, I'm like, hey, wait, we have to learn more about that. Like, go see what other videos they have. How are you just scrolling past this?
You're a big investigator, especially in the comments. I don't care enough.
I love it because I have to go deeper. I want to know more about that one subject. And then I master it really quickly, and then I'm ready to move on. And in societal standards, like that is quote unquote a flaw because you're supposed to pick one career and do one thing for the rest of your life and study one subject for 4 to 8 years. And I don't know, everything about that life sounds absolutely horrible to me, despite the fact that I know we need those people. I'm not one of those people. And this just really, anyway, if you resonate with any of that, go watch that TED Talk because it gave me the permission to be myself and not be apologetic about it. And then when you operate in that way, it's just crazy how like everything else in life shows you that like this is how you're supposed to be, and this is where you can use that opportunity for good.
So for everybody that's listening, go ahead and wrap that again to what that would be labeled as your quote unquote flaw.
Multi-potentialite, which includes many things, but having to do many different things, having many different interests, constantly juggling between things. Like there's no expert in one thing. I absolutely am not that. I'm an expert in many things, and that's just what feels good to me, which is completely different than how most people, the percentage of multi-potentialites was pretty small. That's not how most people are built.
So ironically, I had something on my list that plays off of that.
Cool.
And it has a lot to do with like asking the questions, but mine come in the form of skepticism.
Oh,
I feel like one of my flaws, because it comes off different too, depending on the conversation and context of who I'm talking to, but it's the same way for me, the way I'm giving the energy every time. So my skepticism, if somebody's bringing up something or they're talking about a business thing that they started, or they're talking about a potential invention or their job or anything like that, I just have a bunch of questions. Or even when we used to go to, when Milani was younger, we would go to a lot of the doctor's appointments and they would ask questions, and I was just skeptical on the answers they gave us, so much to the fact that I would not just accept the generic answer they gave because it didn't make sense to me. Not that I didn't necessarily understand it, it didn't make sense. So for instance, like the one time when our daughter needed the potential MRI or the CAT scan, and they can do the CAT scan at the hospital, but they'd have to send off for a specialist for the MRI, but the scan would only take 30 seconds, right? Well, I said, well, what are the pros and cons to that? And they said, well, it'll be over fast, you know, this and that. And then she slipped in there. It only has a 1% chance of causing cancer.
You asked. She didn't slip anything in there.
She slipped the 1% in there. I said, what are the pros and cons? So she said the pros are this, the cons are this, and it has a 1% chance of cancer surfacing above the age 50. And I immediately looked at her and I said, well, where is that data from? And
when 1900s.
But I said, where is that data from? Like, how accurate is that data now? Like, is that the most up-to-date research? And she looked me dead in the face, puzzled as fuck.
Because nobody asked those, what seemed to us as basic questions.
Yeah.
Like, duh, I want to know that question. We're talking about my daughter's life.
Right. If it was 1% because the research stopped 20 years ago, is that 10 now? And like, fuck that. That's high. Now, granted, probably it's not 10, but
honestly, it might be. Not everybody, but like the way that cancer is so prevalent these days, we have to have those up-to-date studies because where is that coming from?
So
maybe the MRIs.
She looked at me dead in the face and said, I'd have to actually check that. And I looked her back in the face and I said, so you just go around telling people like you're 100% confident in something as the doctor?
And everybody just lets you do that?
I'm telling you right now, she apologized later on and also appreciated us and applauded us for how vigilant we were as parents. So
and honestly, she cared enough that she probably went back and like did that research so she could talk to her patients in like a
You could tell the look
way.
on her face wasn't like, oh shit. The look on her face, like, oh, I'm caught. Like the look on her face was like, oh shit. Like
I need to find that out.
I've never been asked that. Like I don't know why that's never been brought up, but
that's definitely a superpower that your brain goes that way to ask those questions that other people don't, because you're not blindly just going to go into stuff and like accept that for what it is. Then 20 years down the line, we find out that was actually
Right.
a negative thing because nobody asked the question of how up to date that
that's why I
research
say
was.
my skepticism is a flaw because it can come off
It was
wrong.
labeled as a flaw.
Yeah.
But it very much
We're just going to keep saying flaws. I don't need you to do the air quotes
know.
every time. The
Well,
whole
it
point
needs
of it
to
is
be-
people feel these are flaws. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, we're going to talk about things that
But I need to make it clear that they're not, because that's the point of
I get
this
that.
episode.
We don't
This
need to
isn't
do
for you,
that
honey.
after
It's for the
every-
listeners.
We don't need to do that after every flaw.
We do. Your other flaw is correcting people, and they don't want to be corrected.
Oh, I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical of why you have to do that.
Touche.
All
No,
right.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I have one that we both have on our well, I have it on our list for both of us at
Yeah,
least.
there you go.
Procrastination is very much a superpower, and obviously in all of school.
We talked about this in the last episode.
No, it was
Two
just the
episodes
other.
ago?
I think it was just the other day. I don't know if it was on
No, we
camera.
recorded it. We were
We
saying
did?
how I didn't feel it was procrastination for me because procrastination is in
Oh.
two forms. It's either you can't get it done or you don't know how to get it done.
Yeah. Regardless, my whole life, I've waited till the last minute to do I remember even in high school, there was a time where we have to do like our senior year was like a 10-page essay. And the day we got the assignment, I'm like, I'm going to go home. I'm going to start researching this. And I did. I remember right away, I put so much time into it. 'Cause I'm like, I'm finally not going to procrastinate. After that one day, we have like, I don't know, 2 months to do it. I went hard that one day. I didn't touch it again until 2 days before, whatever it was due. But I was so excited to finally like not procrastinate, but nothing in me wanted to do that for 6 weeks. That's crazy. Something that I could get done.
You only had to do it for 6 weeks?
I have no idea.
Shoot,
It was
ours
probably like
all year.
no, ours was probably like half the year or at least a whole semester or something. It was definitely a long period of time. And I wasn't spending a long period of time doing that. I spent a chunk researching, and then I spent a little chunk putting it together. And I'm sure I got a good grade because I didn't get bad grades. I couldn't tell you what I got. Like Travis, his photographic memory would be like, I got a 97.
I did. I got a 97 on my senior project, and I never saw it until the day I presented it.
That's crazy. So let's tell that story. But that's so because we have always procrastinated, and obviously everybody's always told us like, oh, start it right away. Don't wait till last minute. You're a bad procrastinator. But at the end of the day, what we can get done in a short amount of time is absolutely unheard of to people who need long periods of time. And again, everybody's just created differently, but that is such a granted, yes, you should get those things done in a small amount of time, not at the last minute. That would make everybody's life easier. But the fact that we've built the muscle forever of getting something done in such a short amount of time where the pressure doesn't crumble us, we're able to handle it effectively, still do a good job. We're not doing these things and getting bad grades. So really building that muscle where other people don't, of course we're going to be able to hit deadlines and take big risks and like do these big things that other people aren't comfortable with, because you haven't spent your whole life turning in something at the last minute and still getting a good grade. And that is absolutely a superpower to be able to do.
So the funny thing is what was on my list next up was, it's not going to make any sense to somebody watching, because if you don't know me personally, you have no idea. You're gonna make it makes zero sense. So one of my things is, when I do things, I try to do them as close to perfect as possible. I don't like to half-ass it. I don't like to just willy-nilly. But then when you talk about waiting to the deadline, but the difference is I'm locked in.
Mm-hmm.
And what I can accomplish in just 2 hours on something that might take someone 2 weeks for a deadline, 9 times out of 10, I'm doing it better. I'm doing it faster, and it's going to be a way better if it's a presentation than a presentation. If it's just a paper, it's just a paper. But whatever, if I'm building something, then by all means, that might not work if you can't build a house 2 hours. But
we could try. We're going to push some limits.
But my point is, I tend to want to do things as close to perfect as possible, because I think it sets the tone, and whatever you're putting your name on, it represents you.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you are a procrastinator and you just turn something in, like, you're okay with just like putting that in and then potentially not getting well received on it. That's your name.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I want something to be good on my name. I want my stuff to say, wow. I don't want them to know I did it in 2 hours or a week or however my deadline was and I took it to the last minute. I don't want them to know, but I also want it to be quality.
Yeah.
So
So you're a procrastinator. I don't want to label you a procrastinator, but you're able to procrastinate, but also be a perfectionist and perfectly do something at the
you know
last
what
minute.
I think it is for me for procrastinating?
What?
I don't just throw it on the back burner and never think of it. I think that's what it is. I now that I'm talking through it from the previous episode and now, I think for being a procrastinator for an overwhelmingly majority of people, it's just never a thought until it comes up and they have to do it. Whereas me, I know it has to get done. I think about it every single day, but I'm thinking about pieces involved in what needs to be done. To therefore, when it is against my back is against the wall for it's a time crunch, I have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
So
your brain is like that.
right. I've been doing the clockwork or doing it like clockwork in my head the whole time.
Yeah. That makes sense. That's definitely a superpower of yours. That's like, and it's funny because you see how all these like flaws or superpowers or qualities is all they are, right? And people are deeming them positive or negative based on whatever the heck, but they all intersect. And because they're intersecting in a way that you can use for positive, they're not flaws, you know? So you do have OCD, we've talked about that before, and like perfectionism, and you have to have things right. And our standards are high. We're not the type that's scribbling on something and handing it in to the teacher. Like we're going to hand you in some quality work, but it's going to be at the last minute. But it's never like a sloppiness is just acceptable for us. You know, that has to do with high standards and stuff. So when you put all those things together and you're not only able to like get something done at the last minute, but effectively get it done better than most people, that is a superpower. And that's definitely something you've been building your whole life in
Like
starting from in school.
Like my senior project is one of my favorite stories of all time.
Tell it, it's so good.
So I'm just gonna say shout out to Daisha because I owe you. Although I settled the debt.
We owe you for the story alone at this
just
point.
The story alone. Our senior project was something you had to build and it had to be done throughout the whole year. And it counted for 50% of your grade. 50%. You could, and let that sink in. You can get 100 on everything else in the class.
And still fail.
And still fail if you bombed your senior project.
I don't know what ours was.
And so depending on if you were in regular, advanced, or AP, depending on how long your paper had to be. But everything else, aside from the paper and then the presentation. Your project had to be presented in front of a panel of quote unquote judges at the end. And you had to write a paper and find a mentor and do your paper on a how-to. It could not be anything that was you're just providing a story. It couldn't be made up. And so what you needed to do was pick a subject. So for me mine was, and how to basically had to be in the title. And I put how youth sports, and we talked about this on a previous episode, how youth sports play such a pivotal role in how you grow up. And so I never wanted to do the writing. There was constant things you had to check off between finding research, turning it in, and every so few weeks there was a thing you had to do, right? I wasn't doing well because it was so unimportant to me to
spend a whole year.
Oh my gosh.
Writing a freaking essay.
But also at this time, like I was playing 2 sports.
Right.
I was helping out the special needs kids in campus with their Special Olympics. In addition to doing all the other stuff with school. So to me.
Also, your home life wasn't the best. So you're kind of in fight or flight back there.
And I had a job.
Right.
And
so you're surviving.
I didn't want to do it. First couple like drafts turned in, I didn't do well. I got marked for copyright, like just the whole 9 that typically would happen. But again, it's not something I couldn't do. It's just I didn't want to do it.
Sure.
So I ended up asking someone if they would help me with my senior project, and I said I would pay you, and don't talk to me about nothing. I trust you blindly, this and that. Well, they asked like, what are you going to do when you go to present it? And I'm just like, I'll figure it out. That's for me to figure out. I can't focus on this right now. This doesn't matter to me. Even if I failed this class, I wouldn't fail. My GPA was more than high enough. It was in the high 3s, so it didn't matter. Um, Fast forward all the way to the end, and it got to the point where and you had to dress up for your senior project too. So you go to the library. So imagine it's like a jury thing. You're sitting there, they have their tables laid out, and then there's 3 judges that are sitting there, and one is your teacher. And she was smiling the whole time I stepped up. So my presentation had to be between 8 and 10 minutes because I was in advanced class. Just like my paper had to be in 8 to 10 pages. So she's smiling because she's just like, there's no way. But we had a very joking and friendly relationship. So I get there, and the first time I see my presentation is exactly when I'm presenting it in front of the judges. And at the end of the presentation, I nailed everything. I think I did it like just over 8 minutes. I'm hitting the slide. Oh, you had to build a slideshow, by the way. That was your presentation. I'm hitting the slides. I'm talking about them. I'm doing it. Yada, yada, this, that, the third. And at the end, and I still had the tags of my suit on. That just goes to show you how much I thought this was not important at all. You had to wear dress attire. And I still had the tags on my suit. I didn't know, but they were just dangling. And I wasn't going to return it. I just didn't think of it, right? I got a 97. A 97 on my senior project, 3rd highest grade in my entire senior class.
If you don't think that's a superpower, you're crazy.
I never saw the whole project or a slideshow until the day I was presenting.
And that story alone is such a good representation of a bunch of different of your insanely good qualities that that would cripple somebody else who wasn't you to be able to go up there, give a present. First of all, public speaking is the biggest fear or whatever. So getting up there already cripples people, which we don't quite understand because we're, those
Mind you,
type
this
of people.
this is held in the library.
Right. You said there's a panel.
That's not closed for students to go study.
Fun.
So there's still a bunch of students doing work in the background.
Yeah. So not only is that procrastination, but you are really good on the fly. We talked about you doing potentially stand up, and what's it stand up when you don't have a script? Improv. You've always been good at improv. That's
improv so bad.
Yeah, so all those things, the talking out quick on your feet. You probably got in trouble for being a class clown because you're so witty and quick. Well, look how that's a benefit. One day when we're up on stage talking about whatever and you have to kind of wing things, it's funny how
I think the best way it happened was I didn't have to point out. I didn't just read the screen because a lot of it's bullets, right? When you do it, I just read the first bullet and went off. And then
improved.
And then I went to the next bullet. I didn't just sit there and go, okay, I have no idea what's happening. I got to read everything. And it's then they're going to know the jig is up, or I'm stalling time to get to that benchmark that I need to hit. But definitely that's probably one of my favorite stories of all time, just because every so often I'll run into the teacher, and she asked me a couple of years later. She just was blown away that I got a 97, and I looked at her and I was like, "Hey, I didn't do that, right?" And she looked at me. She's like, "What?" She was like heartbroken, and then she goes, "Nah, I knew you didn't do it."
Yeah, I've seen you all year, buddy. We know. Wing the heck out of it, though.
She said she was far more impressed that I was able to do it than anything else that could have come about if I did it by myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I'm a firm believer, whatever skill you're supposed to develop there, it wasn't the skill of writing the perfect research paper. That's not what's going to serve you in life. The skill of being able to go off the fly, outsource maybe is the skill you learned there. The other things about how you got it done.
I made sure that when I passed it off for her to help me, that I 1000% did my own opinions and things that I said, this needs to be in there. And it was all of the emotional stuff that I truly felt had the benefits of being in youth sports.
Oh, I love that.
So I made sure that these needed to be presented in there, which also kind of probably helped me play a factor in my presentation.
100%. Yeah. And also, so you're very passionate about youth sports. You've always played youth sports. So it's not like it was about NASA that we don't know much about. It was about a part of your life that you very much could wing. And that is really the coolest story, because people can't do that. And other people would see that as a flaw, like this procrastinator, this class clown, this, that. But you can't go off the fly like that. You can't ace this.
I don't think there was anybody in my class that thought I did it.
Sure, because they knew you. I'm sure you probably even told everybody that, oh, I didn't do it. I could see you.
I didn't tell nobody because I didn't want to get the F.
Okay, touche. Yeah, you can't afford it because it's literally 50% of your grade.
I didn't want to fail it. I wanted to pass it.
So speaking of this, just reminded me, one of your other superpowers, it's definitely, I'm sure, not deemed as a flaw, but I'm just going to throw it out there because your insane brain, your photographic memory is definitely a flaw. And it's definitely not a flaw. It's definitely a superpower. And I want to throw it out there because even like, okay, so I'm from Pennsylvania, completely different schools. I also had a senior project that also took the whole year, half the year, whatever it was. I couldn't tell you what it's about. I couldn't tell you what it wasn't. Was it a how to? Was it a? I have no freaking idea. I couldn't tell you my grade. Who cares? Like,
I'm glad
that's
you triggered it because
so.
that's what it had to be a how to. It couldn't be a why.
Why do you know that?
It could.
Why do you remember? I know, but like, why do you remember this? Is my point.
Because I was skeptical of why it needed to be that
Sure,
way.
not me. I'm just like, oh, I gotta do this.
It couldn't be a why, and it couldn't be anything based on history.
Okay, so you couldn't just research the.
You couldn't just like
it
triggered the memory when you said about NASA and stuff. So it couldn't be a paper like the benefits of why we went to the moon kind of thing, right? Like it couldn't be anything of that. Like it had to be a how to.
You had to teach somebody something or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine might have been too. I have no idea. So the fact that you remember your grade, you remember the presentation, you remember who wrote it for, I wouldn't have remembered any of that. I would have just know that I did well
the whole
because
day. I remember exactly what I wore. I remember exactly what the judges were wearing. I remember the conversation that took place afterwards. I remember who went before me.
That's crazy to me. To somebody with my brain, I'm like, what? You have space for that up there?
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes I wonder, like, what can I accomplish next if I didn't have that stored? Stuff like that.
You have enough wrinkles in your brain for more. It's all right. That's crazy though. But anyway, it's so another one of your superpowers is like you just have an insane brain. You have an insane memory.
People test it all the time too.
Yeah. Our daughter tests it all the time. And she has the same brain, which is awesome. Definitely a superpower that you passed down. So moving on to a few more. I have some listed here that I don't know. I just want to run through because I feel like my fellow multi-potentialites are just really going to feel this the way I did. But with my type of brain, I actually researched this because I wanted like kind of a hardcore list. But the 3 big superpowers that we get from like being a multi-potentialite or just being interested in many things and all those things are idea synthesis. And I want to point that out because I didn't notice it until it was pointed out to me in this way. And I feel like it like cracked things open. But idea synthesis is the ability to combine different ideas from different fields. So my perspective on things is so much different than yours because you become a master at like what you're doing. But I can see how where me and you intersect is actually the real magic. And I can kind of help us in that intersection instead of you being stuck in like your one track minded way of doing things and me being stuck in mine, or, you know, not even me versus you, but anything. I can kind of see the overview of things and create really creative solutions intersecting 2 things that don't necessarily go together. And a lot of people's brains can't naturally do that. And I can't make mine stop doing that. And looking back, I can now see how that's always been a thing, but I didn't notice it until somebody pointed it out and said, your brain does this, and that is absolutely a superpower. And then I was able to see that, wow, that is so necessary in the world. And I think that's the biggest thing with me realizing that these flaws were actually superpowers is because when you realize that you're created that way on purpose and it's such a necessity in the world and you cannot water it down because you were created that way on purpose because people need people like me to find the intersections or to soften the blow, or they need people like you to make light of things that don't need to be so heavy, or, you know, whatever we bring to the table, it's purposeful and it's not supposed to be watered down. And the idea of synthesis part of it, I didn't notice until it was pointed out to me. And now I can see how I've naturally done that my entire life. And then the other 2 superpowers that came with being a multi-potentialite, which I already talked about, was the rapid learning. It's such a superpower to be able to learn things super fast and super deep and even be interested in doing them like that. And being able to take in more information than the average brain can even conceptualize or even want to learn. That's definitely true for me. And then adaptability. My whole life is very much pivoting, readapting, figuring things out, readapting, moving across the country, readapting.
When everybody's zigging.
Zag when everybody's zigging, and then how do you adapt in the zag when I don't just do it like so to be adaptable in that way is such a superpower, but I didn't realize it until I was purposely doing it because all my life it's kind of I've been pulled towards readapting and pivoting, but it didn't come from a place of like this feels good, I know this is the right next move. It was just like I know this doesn't make sense, but I am absolutely bursting. And if I don't change things up, I'm probably going to jump off this balcony. Like, so it came from a place of almost desperation because everything in me was being pulled to do it, but I didn't logically know that, oh, that's because this is how I'm built and this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
And when I finally was operating that way and using my adaptability as a superpower, I say it a lot, but like it really completely changed my life because it changed my outlook on myself. And I think I want that to be the greater purpose of this entire episode is like when you stop looking at your quote unquote flaws as flaws and you actually see them for the benefits that you are supposed to have, you're going to look at yourself differently. And when you look at yourself differently, you operate differently. You walk with a different aura. You walk with a different magnetism because no longer are you holding in these flaw. I wish there was a different word for it, but these flaws, but now you're walking with these superpowers. And as you can imagine, like having a cape on your back is going to give you a completely different aura than having chains on your feet.
Maybe we can just call them superpowers that tend to have a negative outlook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or they're perceived negative.
And that's exactly what they are. I like that because I don't like calling them flaws, but I wanted to use the verbiage that maybe you thought they were now.
I mean, flaws are flaws, but we're not talking about just pointing out like what's wrong with us, right? Like that would be a flaw, but
I don't believe people have flaws, because when you're learning this, like even just learning these few things about myself, it really taught me that everything that I thought was a flaw, like you are so purposely created, you don't have any flaws. You have things that are supposed to trigger certain things in your life, good, bad, or indifferent, because it's supposed to get you exactly where you're going. So I kind of don't believe in flaws. It's just whether you use how you're created for good or for negative.
Well, if you think about a little bit deeper than that, habits can be flaws.
Not if you use them for positive.
How are you going to use smoking cigarettes for positive? How are you going to use blackout drinking every day?
Okay, I got
to
you.
Gambling and alcohol.
Nope. So the flaw there is addiction. The cigarette isn't a flaw. That's just a thing. Your addiction to it is a flaw. I have a very addictive personality and I'm very aware of that. I specifically make sure I get addicted to growing businesses and getting healthy. And, I get addicted to things that push me forward. And addiction can very much be a negative or a positive thing.
But you is still the construct.
Anybody can use, but that's my greater point. I almost got addicted to cigarettes. There was a point where I smoked for a little bit. If I didn't want to break that addiction and replace it with something healthy, that could have been a flaw. But the addictive personality, the addiction is the action. Like the cigarette is just the thing. So I think you can, like your flaws, you can use them for good or bad. You can use your addiction to get addicted to things that are gonna make you a trillionaire.
That's what I said. I think it results to habits. Your habit can be a flaw or it can be a superpower.
Sure.
Well, addiction is essentially can form into a habit.
Yeah, and I'm just so we're agreeing. But if you can use it for bad or for good.
Well, I'm saying to circle back, just for purposes, you were mentioning like that you don't believe there are anything such as flaws.
Yeah,
and like I think it can be, but we don't want it to be.
Yeah,
you don't. And want, really, or sorry, I shouldn't say we, but people can, but you shouldn't want it to be that way.
Yeah, and especially not if you have big dreams and goals and you want to do things different than most people. Then you need to learn to use all of you for good. And when you realize how you can do that and the way that you're made up is so specifically in order to get you exactly where you're supposed to go, you're not going to use your negative traits or habits or whatever.
That's the goal.
Yeah, I can only speak for me because I'm addicted to doing good. I love progressing. I love building. I love all things positive. I do. Negative things don't feel good. So I choose to use my addictions for good, just like you choose to use your negative story and all of those things, like your negative past and your childhood and all that. You use it for good. You can either use it for bad or use it for good. Yep, you can 100%. Either use it as leverage or you could use it to cripple you. At the end of the day, it's still the same negative childhood, but what are you going to do with it? I still have the same quote unquote flaws as other people, but I'm choosing to use them for good. And when you see how you can use them for good or how your horrible childhood actually shaped you to be able to give our child the best childhood ever, it's no longer a flaw. You just went through the fire so she didn't have to, So it's all about how you look at things and how you choose to leverage them. Even I'm obsessed with universal laws. Once you know the patterns, you can choose to use it for good. So when you learn about the law of attraction, you can attract negative or you can attract positive. What do you choose?
We watch it all the time.
Hello. When you learn about all these different, like the law of polarity, use it to your advantage. You know, I think everything is a choice. And same thing with your superpowers versus your flaws. They are whatever you make them to be. I choose to use them as a superpower always. And I choose to follow people who help me see those things as superpowers because they see those superpowers in themselves. And then you can see it in yourself and then you can help other people see it in themselves as well. And it's a game changer when you don't look at yourself as a negative.
A big part of that is surrounding yourself with people that aren't going to keep you down too.
Yeah.
That way you can see how to use the stuff properly.
Yeah. And if you're surrounded by those people now, because we are having an issue with, you know, finding people and that fuel these different parts of us as we're growing. But I turn to online mentors a lot. I've been doing that for many, many years. And I'm just very specific about making sure I tune into ones that amplify these things in me. And because they also had to amplify those in themselves. And that helped me operate in alignment with how I'm created, just like they did. So follow people who make you feel like your OCD isn't a problem because they used it for good and XYZ.
So one last thing to wrap up for me, I would say that my superpower, but it could also be a detriment or quote unquote a flaw, would be my love language, which is gift giving.
I don't see that as a flaw at all. Please don't water it down.
I would never, because I love being charitable. I absolutely love when I see someone that is struggling and I feel like that person deserves something. I absolutely love if I'm able to help them out in any fashion, I can. If I'm able, whether that's like manual like labor, that's helping you get groceries, that's surprising you with something you've been wanting for a long time. Like, I would say that my love language has burned me sometimes, but the reward it provides internally for me outweighs anything that I ever had in my life. Like, aside from our family, right? Like, the feeling I get from it, it's indescribable.
Yeah. Can we even, we got it. Anyway, we're going to do it anyway. When we first were pivoting from the brick and mortar to growing our online businesses and stuff, that was something that I used to get frustrated with you about, because I would be like, hey, let's put energy into these things. I want to do these things. Let's grow your brand this way, make a video. And you're like, I want to get on TikTok and give away all this free stuff. And I want to do giveaways. And I want to, you literally just went around, you were just paying for everybody's stuff. We're paying for all this cheer stuff. We're in Dunkin and you're paying for people behind it, like normal stuff. But you like amplified the giving to the point where even like, you're like, hey, I want to give away this online and this online. And just, that's how you were. You didn't know how to fill your cup during the pivot and during the finding yourself. And there was a big transition that was going on. And the only way, not the only way, but the way that you knew would give you the feeling that was going to help you to move things forward and feel good about yourself was to give. And that's not my love language. So I was like, what are we doing here?
If I amplified giving away things and helping people with their school supplies or their Thanksgivings and stuff like that, if I amplified the amount that we gave away, it would force me to say, hey, I need to also make more money because I'm not helping enough people and I want to help more people.
And the more resources we have, the more time we have, the more of a platform we have, the more we're able to help people. And that was definitely your way of tapping into that, which is...
And that's why I think Christmas is like my favorite time of year.
Because you like giving?
Absolutely. I can't wait to find a couple tree lists and work with people on that. I absolutely can't wait.
I would actually say, okay, this is one of my flaws that I haven't found the positive in yet, but I'm not a gift giver. And it, not only am I not like natural gift giver, but it cripples me. It makes me feel, not that I don't want to give you stuff, I want to give you everything, but now I have to think about what you want, that you're going to find useful, that the thought of figuring out what to give people makes me...
See, you're hold on, you're confusing Christmas
in general
and what has become to gift giving.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Or like birthdays. If I have to give a gift for any specific thing, don't make me go out in this time period and figure out what to get somebody.
But that's why my love language isn't tied to a value. It's if you need help with something, I can help you manually. Like, you know what I mean? My act of service in gift giving, I think, should be considered the same love language in many ways.
Yeah.
But they're not. they're labeled as two separate ones, but to me, my love language again is definitely gift giving / act of service. And I think like just what that provides for me internally. We're about to go get breakfast, and guess what? Someone's gonna get their breakfast paid for when we're there. Like that's just what it is. So
definitely not a flaw. We
you
love
remember
that
the
about
time
you.
in Dunkin' though? To wrap this up, the one time we started the chain at our local Dunkin', and we came back the next day, and she said that it had a 10-car chain, and the only reason it stopped, she believes, is because there was no one behind the last car.
And then the employees were touched by it, and they went out and started their own. They paid for, I don't know if it started a chain reaction, but they went and did the same thing like on their off time.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point of all of this is the ripple effect that it causes, right? It's not just about paying for the person behind us, but it's making their whole day. And then whose day are they going to go make? Or what decision are they going to make differently that's positive now instead of negative?
How about it fixes somebody's day?
Yeah.
Who's having a terrible day, and then the act of kindness that some stranger paid for their order in front of them.
And now they have a chance to breathe and remember everything's okay instead of going home and reaming out their kid when they come home because they're annoyed. But now they've been able to have a second to realize like, okay, things are fine. And now their child's day is different. Their day is different. Like the ripple effect really matters when you're talking about real humans. And I think we're very aware of that where other people are not.
Yeah.
This was a cool episode.
So always remember.
You were,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say something unrelated.
I was going to say, always remember that your superpowers are flaws to other people, and don't ever let your superpowers be watered down.
At all. And you are so purposely created. And even if you don't know what that means right now, you will realize how you were supposed to use this in the world. And that is why you were created this way. So you are a big old superpower. There's nothing not powerful about you. And I hope you all learn to go out of your way to find those things because it is a freaking game changer when you love yourself and you don't hate yourself anymore.
And never forget, you matter, and the world is always a better place with you in it.
Oh, yes. Amen to that. All right. Well,
peace up and A-Town down.